This is how you play the 1, 3, 6, 4, 2, 5, 7, 1 chord progression in D major. First, we're going to start with the D major chord in first inversion. This puts all the other chords, especially the 3, 6, and 2, in a position that they'll most likely show up in music. So we have F sharp on bottom, and then D has been moved up top. Notice I'm using my 2 of my right hand in the middle since this is a first inversion triad. Play that 1 again. To move to 3, since the third scale degree is F sharp, we're going to keep the bottom 2 notes, and then the top note is going to move down to the next scale degree in D major, which is C sharp. And I'm going to adjust my right hand so that my 3 is playing in the middle instead of my 2. And that gives us the 3 chord, F sharp minor. Play it for me. Go back to the 1 chord in first inversion. Remember to switch to 2 in the right hand. And then go back to the 3 chord. To get to the 6th chord, since the 6th scale degree is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, B, we're going to keep our bottom note, and then the top 2 notes are going to move up a step to the next scale degrees in D major. So middle note moves up, top note moves up. And that gives us the B minor chord, which is the 6th chord in D major. Play that 6th chord for me. Go back to the 3. Go back to the 6. To get to the 4 chord, since our 4th scale degree in D major is 1, 2, 3, 4, G, we're going to keep the top 2 notes, and we're going to take the bottom note and move it up to the next scale degree, G, which would be good to have in a G chord. This is the 4 chord, which is G major. In my left hand, I'm going to adjust so that my 3 finger is playing, since this is a root position chord. Play that 4 chord for me again. Go back to your 6th chord. Go back to your 4. To get to our 2, since our 2nd scale degree in D major is E, we're going to keep these bottom 2 notes, and we're going to take the top note and go up to the next scale degree, E, making this E minor, which is our 2 chord in D major. I'm going to adjust my right hand to play a 2 in the middle because this is a first inversion chord. I can tell because the 3rd is at the bottom of the chord and the 4th is at the top of it. Play that 2 chord for me again. Go back to your 4. Go back to your 2. Now to go to the 5-7, in D major, we have the 5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so it's A, meaning our 5-7 is going to be A7. That was terrifying. To get to our A7, our outside notes are already in the A7 chord, so we're just going to move the middle note down to the next scale degree, which is A, which would be important to have in an A7 chord. You could also take the top note down a skip for even more tension. The C sharp, being the 7th scale degree, really provides some good tension. But you could also just keep it on E, on the top note, so it doesn't have to change. I'm going to play both. And play that 5-7 for me, whichever way you want, with the top note unchanging, or the top note going down a skip. It's up to you, or both. And go back to your 2 chord. Go back to your 5-7. And then go back to your 1. Let's say our moves as we go through this progression. Start in the first inversion for D major. 1, 2, first inversion D major. Top note moves down. Top 2 move up. Bottom note moves up. Top note moves up. Middle note moves down. Back to 1. Now let's say the Roman numerals. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 6, 3, 6, 6, 4, 4, 2, 6, 5, 2, 1, 6. You may have noticed I was adding numbers after the Roman numeral, for example, 5, 2. That's because the number I said second indicates the inversion. If I say 2, that means it's a 7th chord with the 7th on bottom instead of the root. And that's how all those other numbers work too. Now let's go through and say the chord names. 1, 2, 3, 4, D major, F sharp minor, B minor, G major, E minor, A7, back to D. I'm going to do that again, but this time I'm going to keep my right hand on chords, and I'm going to let my left hand do the bass line that's also on the exam. I'm going to say chord names again because I simply have to play the name of the chord in my left hand. So if I say D major, I'm playing a D. If I'm saying F sharp minor, I'm playing an F sharp. And then of course my right hand is doing the chords it was doing before. 1, 2, saying chords for the bass line. D major, F sharp minor, B minor, G major, E minor, A7, D major. Alright, and now let's do both to the metronome. That's Amazon. There's the metronome. We're going to hold each one for 2. And we're going to do parallel first. 1, 2, ready, play. Now let's do the bass line. 1, 2, ready, play. And if you can do both those with the metronome, that'll tell you how exam ready you are.